This story starts 2 days before a wedding in the mountains of Washington. Claire Bennett thought she saw another bride sitting in the back of a mountain shuttle. The problem was, no one else could see her. 2 days later, the wedding never happened. Here's what happened. Claire and her fiancé Ethan Walker had been planning their wedding for almost a year. They wanted something simple, just close friends, family, and a quiet lodge deep in the mountains near Mount Rainier. June was supposed to be perfect for it. Instead, it had been raining non-stop for days. Still, Claire didn't mind. She liked the sound of rain hitting the windows. It felt calm, safe. At least, that's what she used to think. They landed in Seattle in the morning and rented a car to drive toward the mountains. But about 2 hours into the drive, traffic completely stopped. A mudslide had blocked the only highway leading up to the lodge. Police redirected all travelers to a small mountain shuttle service that used an older forest route. Claire and Ethan had no choice but to take it. The shuttle was old, almost empty. Just the driver, a few seats, and silence. They sat somewhere in the middle. Claire leaned her head against the window, watching the rain blur the trees outside. That's when she noticed something in the back row. A woman, wearing a white wedding dress. A long veil covered her face completely. Claire didn't say anything at first. She just stared. The woman wasn't moving, not even breathing heavily, not adjusting her dress. Nothing. Just sitting perfectly still, like she had been placed there. After a few minutes, Claire leaned toward Ethan. "Do you see her?" she whispered. Ethan didn't even look for long. He glanced back once, then frowned. "See who?" Claire's eyes stayed fixed on the back row. The woman, in the wedding dress. Ethan turned again, slower this time. There was a long pause. Then he shook his head. "Claire, there's nobody there." Claire felt a small chill run through her body. But when she looked again, the woman was still sitting in the same place. Only now, her head was slightly tilted toward Claire, like she knew she was being watched. Claire quickly looked away. She told herself she was just tired from the flight. Maybe stress. Maybe the wedding planning. Anything but what she had just seen. About an hour later, the shuttle stopped at a small roadside cafe. The driver stepped out to grab coffee. Ethan smiled. "Hot chocolate?" Claire nodded. "Yeah. I'll be right back." Ethan got off the shuttle, and the moment he did, everything inside went quiet. Not normal quiet. It felt like the world outside had been muted. Even the rain sounded far away. Claire checked her phone. No signal. She looked around again. Still nothing unusual. Just empty seats. But then, she heard something. A soft sound. Like fabric dragging slowly across the floor behind her. Claire didn't turn immediately. She waited. The sound came again. Closer this time. Very close. Right behind her seat. Claire slowly turned her head. The last row was empty. She exhaled softly. Relief. Then, a whisper came right beside her ear. So close she could feel the breath. "Don't look for me when he comes back." Claire froze, and before she could move, the shuttle door opened. Ethan climbed back in, holding 2 cups of coffee. "Everything okay?" he asked. Claire forced a small smile. "Yeah, I think so." But when she looked down at her arm, there were faint marks on her skin, like someone had grabbed her and didn't want to let go. Claire didn't tell Ethan about the marks on her arm. At least, not right away. She kept staring at them through the window reflection during the drive. Faint. Fading slowly, like they were never meant to stay long. But the feeling didn't leave. That whisper was still stuck in her head. "Don't look for me when he comes back." Ethan noticed her silence. You okay? You've been quiet since the stop. Claire forced a smile. Just tired. He nodded, but didn't look convinced. The rest of the drive felt longer than it should have. The forest grew thicker, the rain heavier, and the road narrower. Eventually, the shuttle turned off the main path toward a mountain lodge hidden deep in the woods, their wedding venue. When they finally arrived, the place looked exactly like the pictures. Beautiful, quiet, almost too quiet. Staff greeted them quickly, helped with luggage, and guided them inside. The moment Claire stepped into the lodge, she felt it again. That same silence, like the air itself was holding its breath. That night, Claire couldn't sleep. Ethan had fallen asleep within minutes, but she stayed awake, staring at the ceiling. Every few seconds, she thought she heard something. A soft sound, like someone walking slowly outside their room, then stopping, waiting. At around 2:13 a.m., the room temperature dropped suddenly. Claire sat up. The heater was still on. Ethan was still asleep, but the window near the bed was slightly open. She clearly remembered locking it. She got up slowly and walked toward it. The rain outside was heavier than before. The forest beyond the lodge looked completely black. No lights, no movement, just endless trees. Then she saw something. A shape, standing between the trees, in white. Claire's breath caught in her throat. She leaned closer to the glass, trying to focus. The figure didn't move, just stood there, looking directly at the lodge, at her room. Claire blinked once, and the figure was gone. She stepped back quickly. Her heart was beating too fast. This isn't real, she whispered to herself. But then, a sound came from inside the room, behind her. Slow, soft, like wet fabric touching the floor. Claire turned. Ethan was still asleep, but the chair near the corner of the room was now slightly turned toward the bed, and on it was something white, folded neatly, a wedding veil. Claire didn't remember bringing it inside. Her phone suddenly lit up on the bedside table. One new notification. No number, no name, just a message. You're already wearing it. Claire's hands started shaking. She looked down at herself. Her reflection in the dark window wasn't matching her. In the reflection, she was wearing a wedding dress. Claire stumbled backward and looked down at her clothes. She was still wearing a hoodie and jeans, but in the window, her reflection was dressed as a bride. Not just any bride. The exact same old-fashioned wedding dress the woman on the shuttle had been wearing. Claire spun around. The room was empty. When she looked back at the window, the reflection was normal again. She woke Ethan immediately. "Ethan, we have to leave. Right now." He sat up, confused. "Claire, what happened?" Before she could answer, every light inside the lodge went out. The room fell into complete darkness. A second later, the emergency lights switched on. The hallway outside filled with frightened voices. Someone shouted, "Power's out!" The next morning, everyone blamed the storm. The wedding was delayed until the evening. Claire wanted to cancel everything. She even told Ethan about the woman on the shuttle, the whisper, the veil, and the reflection. He listened carefully before holding her hands. "You're exhausted. We've been traveling, planning this wedding for months and barely sleeping. Let's get through today. Tomorrow, we'll leave." Claire wanted to believe him, so she agreed. By sunset, the rain had become even heavier. The ceremony began inside the lodge. Family members smiled. Music played softly. For the first time in 2 days, Claire almost felt normal. Then she looked toward the large windows. Standing outside in the pouring rain was the bride. The veil slowly lifted. Half of her face was crushed and covered in old scars. Her eyes never left Claire. Claire jumped to her feet. There she is! Everyone turned toward the windows. There was nothing there. The guests looked at Claire in silence. The ceremony continued. The officiant smiled. Ethan, you may begin your vows. Ethan opened his mouth, but no words came out. His eyes suddenly locked on something behind Claire. His face turned pale. Very slowly, he whispered, "Who's standing behind you?" Claire's heart stopped. She didn't want to turn around, but she did. The woman was standing less than a foot away. Her dress was soaked with rain. Her lips curled into a smile. Then she whispered, "He promised me forever first." Every window in the lodge exploded at once. Guests screamed. The lights went out again. For several terrifying seconds, no one could see anything. When the emergency lights finally came back, Ethan was lying on the floor. His neck was twisted at an impossible angle. Claire was gone. The police searched the mountains for nearly 2 weeks. Then hikers found her body at the bottom of a ravine. She was still wearing her wedding dress. Wrapped tightly around her neck was her own veil. The investigation never found another person at the scene. Years later, the lodge closed its wedding business. Locals still tell visitors the same story. If you're driving through those mountains during a storm, and you see a bride sitting alone in the last row of a shuttle, don't look at her twice. Because if she smiles at you, she already knows your wedding date.